Welcome to this profound analysis. Have you ever actually stopped to think about what happens when you fall asleep every single night? I mean, really think about it. The entire world literally just vanishes. Your house, your family, your name, your whole identity. It all just completely ceases to exist. Yet the absolute biggest everyday mystery we face is this. Who exactly is it that wakes up the next morning and effortlessly says, "I'm back"? Seriously, where does that "I" go in deep sleep? Take a second and just think about that. Your body is resting there on the bed, your brain is doing its thing, processing information, but where is the you that's listening to my voice right now? Does it disappear? Does it go somewhere else? It's honestly mind-blowing that our most advanced modern machines still haven't fully solved this mystery of consciousness. And yet, ancient sages mapped out this exact internal journey thousands of years ago. Okay, let's dive into this. The ultimate answer to this huge mystery actually lies in an incredible ancient text called the Mandukya Upanishad. And what's absolutely crazy about this specific text is that the whole thing is just 12 verses. That's it, just 12 mantras. It's so short you could literally read it in a couple of minutes. But it's universally said that if you truly grasp the essence of these 12 short verses, you basically hold the foundational truth to all existence, a real game changer. Let's look at how we normally approach this today. Modern science views us humans primarily as these complex biological systems, right? We say, okay, billions of neurons create thoughts, memories are stored in the brain, our emotions are just chemical reactions. And yeah, that's completely true. But the ancient wisdom, it asks a much deeper question. If consciousness is purely just brain chemistry, then who is the entity actually observing those thoughts? I mean, when you say, "I had a thought," the thought and the I are two separate things. So who's the watcher? To really understand this watcher, try this quick thought experiment. Picture your life as a timeline. Think back to when you were 5 years old, then 10, 15, 20. Over those years, your physical body completely changed. Your face changed, your voice, your preferences, your entire mind changed. Stuff you cried about back then, like, a broken toy or a terrible teenage haircut, you probably just laugh at today. But amidst all of these massive changes, the underlying I that observed it all, the one actually saying "I am," that hasn't changed one bit. So, the crucial point is that this unchanging I actually moves through three distinct states of consciousness. The Mandukya Upanishad calls these waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And listen, these aren't just mere daily routines we sleepwalk through. They are profound milestones in the journey of your mind. Let's break down exactly what happens to that I in each of these steps, because it reveals something pretty spectacular. First up is the waking state, which, we naturally just assume is our ultimate undeniable reality. This is where our senses are fully plugged into the outside world. But the ancient sages noted something really interesting. The waking state is just an external experience, and the experiencer is actually completely separate from it. Think about it like this. When you get super absorbed in a great movie, you temporarily forget your surroundings entirely. Your consciousness shifts its focus, and that separation of the experiencer becomes crystal clear. Then we shift into the second state, dreaming. And this is where the mystery really deepens. Have you ever had a dream where you were running away in absolute terror? Or feeling this immense soaring joy? In that moment, you have no idea it's a dream. The mind independently creates the blazing sun, the rivers, the fear, the happiness. There's no physical world there at all, yet your mind manufactures an entire reality that feels absolutely 100% real, right up until the exact second you wake up. What's super striking here is the incredible parallel between modern neuroscience and this ancient wisdom. Today, science tells us our eyes only receive photons of light, our skin only feels pressure, our ears only pick up acoustic waves. It's the brain, the mind, that stitches all these raw signals together to construct our cohesive experience. So both modern science and the Upanishads are basically telling us that our waking reality is largely a mental interpretation. It's remarkably similar to how we construct a dream. And this brilliantly illustrates our third state, deep, dreamless sleep. Most folks think deep sleep is just, an empty void of darkness, like a total system shutdown. But if it were literally nothing, how could you wake up and say, "Wow, I slept wonderfully"? The sages use this beautiful metaphor. Imagine an ocean with huge, crashing waves of ego and active thoughts. In deep sleep, the wind dies down and the waves completely stop. But the ocean hasn't disappeared. That ocean of pure consciousness remains entirely perfectly still. But that brings up a really important question for us. If we are touching this profound, completely still peace every single night, Why do anxiety, fear, and anger come rushing right back the exact moment we open our eyes? Well, the text explains that we visit this incredibly peaceful state without active awareness. Because we kind of stumble into it in the dark, we don't bring the knowledge of that profound peace back with us into our waking hours. The core problem here is how we identify ourselves. And this is beautifully captured by the metaphor of the actor and the role. Just imagine a really dedicated actor who's played a specific character on stage for so many years that they actually forget who they really are. They start believing the character's tragedies are their own real-life tragedies. That is exactly what we do. We mistake our ever-changing roles, our aging bodies, and our fluctuating egos for our unchanging true self. We completely forget the silent watcher behind the scenes. To break out of this role, the Mandukya Upanishad reveals its absolute grandest mystery, a concept called turiya. Now, people often mistakenly think turiya is a fourth sequential state, like something you enter after deep sleep. Actually, scratch that. It's not a state at all. Turiya is the underlying foundation. Think of it like the blank movie screen in a cinema. Waking, dreaming, and deep sleep are just different movies projecting onto that screen. The screen itself never changes. It can't be burned by a fire on the film or made wet by a movie about a storm. It remains completely unaffected. This actually leads to one of the most liberating truths you will ever encounter. You do not have to achieve turiya. You've only forgotten it. There's this old story of a person who spent their entire life frantically traveling the world, searching everywhere for this incredibly precious necklace. And after years of exhausting searching, someone finally taps them on the shoulder and points out the necklace was already hanging right around their neck the whole time. Self-realization isn't about gaining something new. It's simply remembering the screen that's already right there. So, what stops us from feeling this necklace? It's the illusion of the ego. And in this context, we aren't just talking about arrogance or having a big head. Ego here means false identification. It's the firm, unquestioned belief that I am this physical body, I am this mind, or I am these passing thoughts. When that false identification becomes too strong, the true witness, that silent movie screen we talked about, gets completely hidden from our awareness, drowned out by the constant, deafening noise of our own minds. Let's move to and see how this builds into our understanding of true meditation. Real meditation isn't about forcibly wrestling with your mind to make it shut up. If you fight the mind, trust me, it fights back harder and louder. Instead, it's about simply watching your thoughts come and go without fighting them. You see, you can't use the mind to illuminate consciousness, just like you wouldn't use a flashlight to try and illuminate the sun, right? The sun is its own light source. You simply have to sit back and observe. There's a wonderful ancient story about a powerful king who asked a wise sage to show him God. The sage replied, "First, show me the one who wants to see God." The king pointed to his body. The sage said, "The body changes." Then the king pointed to his mind and intellect. The sage answered, "They change every second too." So, who is it that knows these changes? The king was utterly speechless. Everything physical and mental is temporary. This inquiry forces a massive shift, moving your focus away from the changing experience and placing it firmly on the unchanging experiencer. The really beautiful thing here is that you don't have to be a monk living in a remote cave to feel this. Anyone can catch spontaneous glimpses of turiya, this pure awareness in everyday life. Think of a time you witnessed a totally breathtaking sunset, or stood on a mountain peak, or heard the deep, echoing resonance of a bell. In those moments of immense awe, your thoughts temporarily just halt. The ego vanishes. For a split second, there is no experiencer analyzing the moment. There's just pure, silent, perfect experience. But as we seek out these profound moments, we have to be incredibly careful of a very subtle trap, the spiritual ego. The exact moment the mind steps in and proudly claims, "Aha! I have experienced the ultimate silence, I am enlightened," guess what? The ego is right back. It's just wearing a different, more spiritual costume. True knowledge and true awakening, they don't claim anything. They don't shout from the rooftops. True awakening simply brings a really profound humility and a deep, unshakable internal silence. Which brings us to our final, provocative thought for this analysis. You're listening to me right now, taking all this in, and you believe you are completely awake. But the Upanishad challenges us with a massive paradigm shift. The greatest sleep of all isn't what happens in your bed at night. It's the sleep of ignorance. If you go through your entire life believing you're just the temporary character on the screen and never realizing you are the eternal screen itself, Are you still entirely asleep? True awakening is simply recognizing the silent observer within. Keep watching the watcher.